Super. So we are live with Brendan Dawes. How are you? It's great to have you here.
I'm fine, Nicole. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's I've watched a lot of these broadcasts over the last year or so, and yeah, so it's nice to be on one. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a pleasure. I was just telling Brendan how I've been following a lot of his work since, like kind of documented the space. So to be honest, it's a huge pleasure to be here with you and to talk today. So thanks again for coming over. I'd actually want to start by asking you to give a brief introduction about you yourself and a little bit of context in terms of like history within the NFT crypto art experience that you've had.
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess I've been making things with computers since the early 1980s. It's when I first got my Sinclair ZX81. As a Christmas present, and I always loved the idea of a box that could be used to make things. So you do some typing in a box, and it makes this thing. And I always was fascinated by that with computer programming. I wasn't really into programming as a craft, really. I was more into what it could do. But I never went into it as a career, and I ended up working in a factory for 8 years, and which was awful. But it's when you're doing a terrible job, it kind of focuses you to do something to get out. And I had a record contract for a while, did things with synthesizers, never made any money. And then eventually I started to get into web design and do things with web design and JavaScript and that kind of stuff. And I managed to get a job in it and leave the factory. And over the years, that really expanded, and the agency I was with really did well. And so, yeah, and then so let's fast forward to 2012 when I left the agency that I helped start in Manchester, and I went on my own again. So I wanted to get back to just making things myself, and was very lucky to have lots of lovely clients. And I was already doing my own things anyway. I'd got some work in a few MoMA exhibitions, which was really nice. And then, yeah, so I've always been working with clients, and lovely clients who want to work with me to try and make beautiful work. I'm not one of these people who, yeah, clients can drive you crazy. But I'm lucky that the majority of the ones I've had have been fantastic. And then David from Known Origin, over a year ago, probably at the end of 2019, was contacting me saying, "Brendan, you need to have a look at this thing called Cryptoart." And he kept like hassling me, and yeah, in a nice way. And he said, "You really need to look at it. I think it's your kind of thing, with the work that you're doing." And so I was a bit like, "I'm not too sure. I don't know if I get it really." And then it was in June, I think, or July last year, that I thought, you know what, there seems to be something happening here. So I decided to, put my toe in the water, and I did a piece called Black Mamba's Revenge, and someone called Whale Shark bought it, who I had no idea who Whale Shark was at the time. And David said, "Oh no, that's one of the big players in the space." And yeah, it kind of just took off. It's been amazing since then. I'm still doing various client pieces that the clients that I love to work for, and it's just been amazing to what it's like. You're suddenly in this world that you didn't know existed, and this whole world opens up to you. And I don't know how you found it when you first discovered Cryptoart, but it was like you didn't even know this thing existed, and it seemed so friendly and positive and optimistic and celebrated art in this case. So I really loved it.
And obviously, you work with computers, like you're a generative artist. So the world of crypto art or the blockchain as well seems a very good medium for the type of work that you do, right? So what, like, talk a little bit about like your creative process, like how, you know, you go about doing your artwork and your creations.
Well, for many years, I always say my work is about combinations of things. People say, what tools do you use? And I often use lots of different things. And I think the power is in the combination, how you combine those things, where you get interesting work. Often the things I combine are by themselves very simple. You know, but the power is in the combination. So I would, you know, for a long time I used processing, which I still love. But there came a point in the end of 2018 where I did a piece of work for a client that I really just did not like. And I got quite depressed about it. I just thought, God, is this it? Is this the best I can do? And I just seemed to be using the same processes. You know, it's because it was kind of easy for me. Maybe I got complacent. I don't know. And so I thought, I need to reboot. I need to reset. And I need to take a good long look at myself and my career. You know, it was all going fine, but I wasn't happy with the work I was putting out there. So over that Christmas period of 2018, I started to play with this thing called Houdini, which some of my peers were starting to use. And it just kind of spoke to me. I found it incredibly playful. Because to me, there's a barrier when you're programming. It's frustrating to me that I have to type words to make a thing appear. I find it really frustrating. And I get why you have to do that, but Houdini had this node-based idea of, you know, you drag things and connect things up with wires. I used to make things like that with a software called Max MSP many, many, many years ago. And I always loved it. I always thought it was a really creative, playful way to work. It was, to me, it was creative. So, and you can combine it with code as well. So I just fell in love with it. And it allowed me to elevate my work to where I wanted it to go. And so that's what I continue to use now. And I'm, you know, I know about 1% of Houdini because it's vast. So I'm learning every day, which I think, you know, you should do. So yeah, and all my stuff starts with paper and pencil still. I'm a bit of a pencil geek. So I love, you know, pencils still, and I love analog things. I love books, and but so it always starts there. But Houdini allows me to sketch things very quickly and create, and I just find it a joy to work with. It's just a pleasure, and I think it's just given me a new impetus to make things, and it just so happens that it collided with this NFT thing. What's been interesting is I've had many conversations with people, and they've all said to me, my work is kind of made for crypto art and NFTs. It was what my work was looking for as an outlet. So yeah, it's been quite amazing, really, to be part of this whole thing.
That's interesting. My work was made for NFT. Like, I'd love to expand a little bit on that. Like, what do you mean when or what do, you know, artists that you speak to, I guess, like what does it mean my work was made for crypto art? Like, in the form of the medium or in the form of the community?
Probably a bit of both, really. But I guess mainly the medium.
Yeah.
I've done analog things over the years, and I'm still doing a few analog things, but I wanted to, over the last few years, I wanted to embrace digital. I wanted to go deep into digital things, rather than kind of have these rose-tinted spectacles of, oh, wasn't it better back in the 80s or 70s or 60s or whatever it was, you know, oh, that's when we were really creative. And like, I wanted to be of now. And to me, that is digital things, as much as I love holding things in my hands. So it seemed to me that NFTs was the culmination of that. It was so futuristic to me. the blockchain and all the technology that goes with that. And my work, when I'm doing stuff myself, I post it on Instagram, like many of people who are doing my kind of thing. And and that's fine, and you get followers, but you don't earn a revenue from it. You only earn a revenue from it when you get the client work who've seen something on Instagram or whatever. So it kind of existed in this world of not really generating revenue, but getting nice, comments and things. So that's when I think the NFT, when I say it was kind of made for it, I think that's what people mean. It's kind of exists in that space. I don't want to say the metaverse as such, but it seems to be that's where it wanted to exist. All this work that I'm making that you often uses data and lots of digital things. So yeah, that's and I didn't really think about it until other people have, and it's like I said, several people have told me that this is what my work has been made for, and not just my work, other people's work that are doing similar things, and that's why I'm really excited about it, because now as an artist, you can put this work out there. No one is telling you what to do or how to do it. You can put it up there rightly or wrongly, with mistakes, and people either tell you it's great or they hate it, or either is fine. By the way, you don't want to make work that's just people go, yeah, it's fine. No, you should never make work like that. And then if people do like it, they pay. They will buy it, which is the ultimate, kind of way to say, I really love this work. It's a lovely thing. So you can then earn your living doing art. So yeah, it's been wonderful.
And going back to your style, like I'm seeing in our background right now, like obviously this, this wave kind of like format or genre that you have, like where does that come from? Like what is the motive behind that?
I guess a lot of my work is organic, in nature. I'm not, even though I like digital things, I'm not like a futuristic person in that I like making very futuristic things as such, or technical things. I like things to flow more. Even though I'm a big modernist and I do love a straight line, but and angles. But I also love, I think the thing that speaks to me the most is the flowing nature of forms and sculptural pieces. So there's a wonderful glass artist called Sam Herman who, he's getting on a bit now, but and I think he's still alive. But he makes these amazing glass sculptures. And I actually discovered him when I was watching Antiques Roadshow. So I'd love to tell you it was in some cool exhibition, but I was watching Antiques Roadshow and someone had this glass vase, and I was like, wow, what is that? And it was, and it was this glass artist. So then I discovered, found out more about him and bought a book about his work, and it's just incredible the things he does with glass. And obviously he's doing it with his hands, and it's just amazing. So those kind of things that kind of appeal to me. So maybe I think they influence my work. I think inspiration is about, things should be fuzzy in your head. I think otherwise you're just copying people. So you see things and you go, wow, that is cool, or that is amazing. And then your memory of it should be kind of blurred. And then it combines with other things in your head, other things that you've seen. So the output of what you do is actually this mashup that is your own, but it's kind of influenced of the kind of the heroes that you've seen and that kind of stuff. So yeah, Sam Herman, I would definitely say check him out. It's amazing, beautiful stuff. I haven't got a Sam Herman piece yet. I've just got a book. So that is the next thing to buy, a Sam Herman, piece. So yeah, I think it comes from that. It's this organic, flowing nature. I don't want to make macho things. It's the other thing to say. There should be way more women in this space. It really frustrates me when I see the kind of testosterone-fueled machismo of a lot of crypto art. It drives me crazy. I'd love to see the end of that. So from my point of view, you know, I'm not a man's man. So maybe that just comes out in my work, that that's the kind of, you know, the stuff that I make.
And you have a piece up on Known Origin right now, right?
Yeah,
Which,
yes, it's doing quite well, which is nice.
I wanted to share my screen because I have it up here, which is this one here.
Yeah.
313.
So I'm doing this kind of history series. I did one, I think the few weeks ago, that took the Apollo 11 moonwalk, and I took a frame from that. And so a lot of my work is about memories and how we remember things and time and space. So this piece was a kind of an addition to that. The reason it's called 313 is what you're looking at there is frame 313 of the Zapruder footage from the Kennedy, when Kennedy was assassinated. And frame 313 is this, you know, this kind of crux moment. You can probably work out what it is from this Zapruder film, which is, so it's really famous. And I actually made this piece quite a few weeks ago, and I've been like that whether to release it, because it could be slightly controversial, I guess. But I think, you know, history, these moments, they kind of they leave scars on culture. They're a moment that we remember. You know, there's always like these things like, you remember, if you're a certain age, you remember where you were when John Lennon was killed, or Elvis died, or whatever it was, yeah, or JFK, you know, was killed. So, you know, these are, or the, you know, the 9/11, that kind of thing. So these are moments in our history. And so I wanted to create this series that kind of marks that visually. It's like this moment, and then it drifts off into time and space to be, you know, mixed with other moments from our culture, but we kind of remember these very specific things. So that's what that is. So yeah, there's a bit of a battle going on with Whale Shark and another person at the minute, which started today, which is, so I'm going to end this auction at 9 p.m. UK time. So yeah, it's been good. So I think with my work, you know, as you can imagine, I've got a backlog of things, you know, 25 years of work. I could just get that archive and I could put something up every day if I wanted to. It has absolutely no interest for me. I'm only interested in making new work, and also work that I think deserves to exist, and work that I want to be proud of, that means something. You know, that's my raison d'etre for making the work. I'm not just interested in throwing, you know, trivial things up. So that's what I'm trying to do. Whether I'm doing that, I don't know. But yeah, that's why I'm not bombarding these platforms with work every day, because it just does not interest me.
That's interesting. And also, you mentioned before, I wasn't sure whether to release it or, you know, tokenize it. Like, how does that process work? So you think, when you think about, you know, I've done this piece, maybe like you know, you personally really like it. Like, how do you then go about deciding, you personally, whether you want to release it or not?
I think I have to sit with things for a while, you know, to decide whether I think in the agency world, we often have this phrase, give it the overnight test. You know, it's like maybe you're working on a pitch for a client or whatever, and it's like, is this any good? You know, it's like, yeah, because you can sometimes be so close to it that you think this is amazing. and then the next day you're like, no, this is completely awful. So I tend to leave it for a while and revisit it almost like it's an old friend, or someone I've met. And do I still like this person, a few days later? I'll sometimes do this thing in the day where I might be working on something. I can't decide whether it's going anywhere, and I'll leave it on the screen and I'll go make a cup of tea or something, and then come back in the room and it will be on the screen. And I'll it's like bumping into it again, like bumping into a stranger. And if it kind of resonates with me in that singular moment, and I go, oh yeah, that's quite good, or there's something in it, maybe we need to explore this, go down a different route, then I know it's maybe there's something in it. It has to pass that test, I think. Otherwise, I don't think it's good enough. It's, I've got lots of stuff like that I've just thrown away or just not bothered finishing, or don't think it's good enough. So other people might like it, but I have to kind of like it myself.
And does the collector relationship, or I guess the relationship that you have with your collectors over time, does that influence your decisions as well to release pieces or not, or is it primarily based on your own instinct and what you feel is right to be doing at the time?
Yeah, I have a really lovely relationship with my collectors, which is great. But I don't make work. I don't think it. I saw this post once on Twitter. You probably saw it. Went round where this is what you should do if you're an artist to appeal to collectors, and it like really made me angry. It was like, this is the opposite of what you should do, because you should not be making work for other people. Just don't make work that you think other people are going to like. You make work that you want to make, and if collectors like it and love it, amazing, it's great, and then you can have a relationship with a collector. But you should never try and target a collector because you think a collector likes a certain thing. You don't play to the gallery like that. You make the work that you want to make. Don't try and follow trends as well. Don't, you think, oh, I should be doing like cubes at the minute. It's like, for some reason, maybe, you have to believe in yourself and find your own voice. Don't just try and succumb to like, oh, this collector's collecting this, so I'm gonna, what the collectors want is authenticity. They want you to be truthful to yourself, I think. And they can see through the people that are just trying to play the game. The good collectors can see that. So a good collector also does the homework to look into you as an artist, to think, why should I collect this person? As well as the work resonating, they often look into your background and try and find out, right, where is this person coming from? So that's important, to make sure that your presence on Twitter or wherever else on your website is kind of a good, it sums you up.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a really interesting point, especially like now historically, and this I say historically, but really like that where kind of the space is going towards, and has kind of really so much has been going on, especially in the last couple of like 3-4 months. So there's a lot of talk as well around what does collecting mean, and also who are kind of the artists that led this movement through. And you've been doing this for a while now, like since last summer, so pretty early on. Maybe not one of the OGs as they call them, but pretty early on in the time. So I'd love to hear your perspective from there to now. What do you see are the things that have changed for the better or also for the worse?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not an OG. You know, there's a load of people that came before me. I just caught a wave at a particular time, maybe. I was lucky like that. So there's people that can speak about that much better than me. But from my experience of when I got involved, obviously there's been this explosion of, driven by Nifty Gateway mainly. A big part of that was because they accepted alternative payments to crypto, right? A lot of the times where you'll find that with these technologies, you have to remove the barriers of entry. And I know the purists will say you should always pay in crypto, which I totally get. But what that does, when you remove the barriers, you start to get a bigger audience. And that's what happened with Nifty Gateway. Also, what happened with Nifty Gateway, I think for me, the appeal was always this, you had a drop once a week. It was exclusive. It was, and then obviously we've seen what's happened. We've got like 4 drops a day or whatever. And then you have, these celebrities coming on board that are not really, some of them have really good intentions, and they're building an NFT collection, and they're really into the community, and the community can spot that. But then you've got these others that just see it as a cash grab, and then we have these open editions where you can see, right, which is happening now. We had a kind of peak of open editions, and they were doing okay on the secondary market, and then it just got flooded, and now you can see that the open editions aren't really selling. The secondary market for those open editions is not, some are selling below what people buy them for. So it's kind of been flooded, and Nifty Gateway, to their credit, have recognized it and gone, we need to put the brakes on here. We need to have a discussion here about what is happening. And I know there's lots of discussion on, and they've announced that there are going to be a lot of changes. So I think that's great. I think they're getting back to the people who know NFTs and the artists who long-term artists. I think what pissed people off was you get these celebrities who come in and then they're gone. They've got no interest in it. Not all, some are fantastic. So yeah, I think that's been the big change, and as it changes every week. It's really, it's both crazy and amazing, and but it keeps it very interesting. Excuse me. So what I'm trying to do is, I've always said I'm in no hurry. I'm in it for the long term. I'm just doing my thing, and trying to release the work that I want to release, and trying to release the best work I can. And where the market will go, it will go. But if I can kind of judge it strategically, because that's the thing, right? You do need to have some strategy. You need to, and that was the other thing, I think about a month ago, it all just exploded nationally on TV. Yeah. Myself and Trevor Jones, and we were on TV on the national news. I got spotted in the street by my neighbour. It was all, I was painting the wall at the time at the front of the house. So it was all very strange, and yeah. So and that was like I was on Radio 4, and so it's like a week. It just seemed like the world was looking at NFTs, and obviously it's calmed down a little bit now, but the world is certainly aware of it, and it isn't going to go away. So yeah, those are the big changes for me. So it's just trying to judge how to handle all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely resonate, and I love the fact that you said that you're in it for the long term. Like, I think that's such a, it's an important statement to make, and it speaks the truth for a lot of artists who have really been here for the long term and are continuing to build the ecosystem.
How do you feel it's the last year as all these changes have gone?
So I was talking about it yesterday. I think we had a clubhouse around like curation with kind of went, to talk about more like history. And I actually posted on this morning as well, because I'm really interested in learning about like the history of crypto art, like from the early, times of it,
Yeah,
like really pre kind of 2018. Because I do think that historically it has to be set into context, because it will be remembered and it will be written about, and it is a real kind of cultural revolution that we're experiencing. So I find that really interesting to me, and it's what kind of like led me in
yeah,
initially, and what's kind of keeping me on really. um all of the rest that is, the, I want to call it like the kind of the outside, which
yeah,
is, the speculation or like the money grabs, that I'm not really that interested in that. But I am really interested in, the artistic part, the cultural
yeah,
part, the historic part, the contextual part. I think that's really cool. And, it's kind of what I've, I guess, in some way or form, like tried to bring on with, the profile with vertical crypto as well. So that interests me particularly.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and I think I've said this before, like as well. I've tweeted about this, but I think there will be ultimately, and there already is, a kind of divide between, as you said, who's in it for the long term and is really interested in, committing to this ecosystem and this community, and who's just here for, let's say, the fun of it, the
mhm,
short term, the, whatever kind of, yeah, like quick happiness or money or
yeah,
whatever the
yeah,
form
yeah,
is it can bring.
yeah. I think what always fascinates me culturally is the effect of technology, and how it gets used in ways that people who usually create that technology, be it Ethereum in this case, they probably have no idea that it would, create this ecosystem, this crypto art, cultural shift, and it, and throughout history, through art, that's always been the way. So, I always give the example of um, French New Wave cinema. That came about because suddenly there was a camera that you could buy quite cheaply that you could take out in the street. Before, it was like, it was a big bulky camera. You had it on a tripod, and suddenly there was this camera that came out that was a bit lighter and you could carry in your hands. Now, the people who created that, they didn't think, I think it will spur a whole new wave of cinema. Never even thought about it. They were just trying to make a lighter camera. So what, Goddard and Truffaut, they went, hang on a minute, we can film in weird angles in the street. And, and that's what fascinates me culturally, is like when Ethereum was made, okay, smart contract, okay, what can we do with this? And it's still obviously continuing. So that's what's is quite amazing, and art history is littered with, that technology relationship of taking it in spaces that the creators of the technology usually never thought of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's completely true. And the fact that, there are like art historians that will talk about this, and we'll see, the development of this through technology. Probably, the fact that we were all locked in our homes has, fueled this
Yes,
revolution as well, because people probably had more time to even make art. Like artists had, more time to just, be in a studio and find
yeah,
other ways that they could potentially monetize out of their work. So everything kind of like has a bit of a piece. It's like a puzzle, really. So it's really
yeah,
interesting.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. The COVID thing, yeah, absolutely. It's kind of was like this perfect storm, I guess, of these coming
Yeah,
together of, the situation, the technology. Yeah, it will be, yeah, it'll definitely be written about in years to come for sure.
yeah. So switching gears a little bit, I wanted to also, well, not really, but like talking about kind of the bridge between like this, virtual world and reality and crypto art to like physical,
Mm,
which is, galleries and I guess, the traditional art world as well. Like
yeah,
obviously, you're in MoMA, like you have an exhibition coming up in London at the end of May. How do you see that bridge being connected, first of all? And yeah, if you want to like talk a little bit about your exhibition too.
Sure. Well, that's what I guess it's an opportunity, isn't it? That I find virtual galleries I find them sometimes a bit frustrating because you're still viewing them through a 2D medium, unless you've got, a fancy headset on, which I don't have. So I'm kind of like often don't partake of the virtual things. So I still love physical galleries, and we've not been able to do that obviously for over a year of meeting physical spaces. So when Gazzelli Art House in London, they got in touch with me, and they were starting to move into the NFT space, but they already were doing virtual reality things. They've got a division of what they do, Gazzelli.io, which is really fantastic. So they're doing a lot of experimental stuff with art in a virtual reality context. So they're really interesting, and they got in touch with me, and we just started to chat about what could we do together. And I thought maybe I could, because it's a physical space, make some physical NFTs that also had a digital piece with them. So I've created this piece. So it's a group show, by the way. There's two other artists as well. And so it's, the end of May. I think May the 25th is the private view, which anyone can come to if they're in London. I know you've already sent your email to be there, which is great. So my piece is called The Collectors, and I wanted to do a piece to kind of celebrate NFTs and also celebrate some of the people that have collected my work. I can't do everyone, obviously, so I've just chosen 3 because we know we're constrained with the space because there's obviously other people involved. So I chose Whale Shark, Meta Kovan, and Paris Hilton because obviously she's a big name and she's collected my work. So what I've done, I've taken the transaction ID, the transaction hash, so when these people bought the first piece of mine. So Whale Shark bought my Genesis piece. So what I did, I created an algorithm which constructs a physical sculpture, a digital sculpture that can be created, turned physical, and it uses transaction ID to construct this thing. And it's both a motion piece and it's also a physical sculpture that's 3D printed in resin that's being printed at the moment. We were doing some tests this week and just getting that right. So they'll be clear, transparent, so the light will pass through them. And what's interesting to me is if you view them from different viewpoints, they look different. Which I noticed when I was creating the digital versions as they spin round. They look completely different from one angle to another. So and they're very organic, again, this organic thing. So they don't, even though they've come from a digital world, I wanted to connect that the person, that's a human being, that transaction is not only a representation of what happened on the blockchain, it's a representation of someone going, I'm going to buy that person's work. I love that person's work. I'm going to decide to spend money on that person's work. So that's why it's kind of this meshing of digital and human and analog. So I'm really excited about it. We're just, today we were working out how we're going to display it exactly, just the finer points of that, just getting that right. And as I say, Gazzelli have been fantastic. And again, they're doing it because they're interested in NFTs. They see it as a shift, as a paradigm shift. So they want to make sure they're there with it, not only being part of it, but developing, where it can go from a they're a contemporary art gallery that has been going 10 years. Or maybe longer. So I think it's great that they're getting involved with this space and trying to develop it and see what happens. And I'm also taking over their website. I'm just going to put unicorns on it. That's all I'm going to do. So yeah, I'm doing they have this online residency, so I'm going to be taking over that from May the 1st. So not quite sure what I'm going to be doing on there, but yeah. So it's a real privilege to be part of.
And do you see more of that? So more of these like kind of NFTs and physical exhibitions happening in the future for you, but as well, kind of like it opens up, I guess, like a whole new perspective for digital artists as well to essentially, be involved with traditional galleries.
Absolutely, and I think it's not mutually exclusive. The two can exist and should exist. It's not like one is better than the other. Obviously with the virtual gallery, anyone can see it with a web browser and anywhere around the world. And that's wonderful. With a physical one, you've got to be there, but then that makes it more intimate. It's a totally different experience. So, and the two can coexist and should coexist. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot more. We're going to see a lot more of these. I can see the V&A doing one. I can see Somerset House doing one. MoMA will no doubt do something on NFTs eventually, I'm sure. So yeah, I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's definitely going to be something we're going to see a lot more of for sure.
And do you get some sort of like friction or like questions still around like what are you doing? What is an NFT? Or is that kind of like all gone and dusted with, the mass media and yeah?
No, I think with the mass media, yeah, it's still, because if it's the headlines, right? Because that's what I know people think. Oh, I love Fran Lebowitz. She does this. I don't know if you've seen the documentary series on Netflix, but she's an amazing writer in New York and cultural commentator, and she is so funny. And it's a Martin Scorsese documentary, and I think it's like in 6 or 7 parts. But she does an episode on art, and she says, I think we should applaud the work, not the price. And she says, it's funny when a Picasso comes into an auction room, no one says anything, and then when it's sold for millions, they all applaud. And that was the point. It's like no one applauds when they see it. It's like they applaud when it's sold. So I think that's a really interesting point. So yeah, I think there is. I think when you see these things and it's Beeple sells for 69 million, obviously that is going to get a news headline because it's like a big deal. So that will always have its critics who say, hang on a minute, 69 million for a JPEG. What? It's mind-blowing. It for anyone not involved in this space, of course, it blows your mind. And it should do. Because it's new and exciting and that's what happens. And any kind of movement like this will always have its detractors. God, let's not forget the World Wide Web. Remember when that came along and everyone was like, oh, this is going to last a week. What's the point? I don't get it. What's the point of it? That was like everywhere. Big ad agencies were like, oh, it's pointless. And it obviously changed everything. So it's the same again. It's absolutely the same again. And not only this time, there's the big money kind of attracts the big headlines. And so yeah, it's always that thing of explaining to other people, what do you do? And and now I just say I'm an artist, and I don't care if people don't understand or it's fine. But I think you have to. Yeah, I used to just say, I just make websites, because it was just easier back, a few years ago, and people just, kind of knew what that was. But now I just say I'm an artist and I make digital things. So yeah,
I like that.
yeah, I think I just make things, and then it's and it's interesting to people. They are genuinely interested.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it will obviously, the words NFT is now starting to become part of public consciousness, and crypto art especially.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Thank you so much, Brendan, for the chat. It's been amazing.
Pleasure.
I'm looking forward to seeing your exhibition in London at the end of May. So that would be super cool.
And it'd be lovely to actually meet you in a physical space, with other people. It will be all COVID secure, of course, and everything. But yeah, I can't wait. It's I'm really looking forward to it. And then I think the other thing to mention, I just want to mention as well, is the other thing that NFTs has done from a collaboration point of view, it has brought people, it's opened doors in ways that hasn't existed before. And I'm now working with such an amazing, so many collaborations I'm working on right now with such an amazing group of talented people, real, people at the top of their game. And I've got another call tomorrow about a project that I'm really excited about, that my nephew is my 11-year-old nephew. It will blow his mind if this thing happens. So, suddenly I'm like the cool uncle, so, so those are all benefits as well. So, but yeah.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And actually on that point, like the accessibility of collaborations is so much easier because you have this medium again where you can, meet easily. Like the barriers to all of that kind of traction that you may have initially of like saying hello to somebody or like approaching just kind of doesn't exist in this ecosystem. So that's very unique. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it, and I love the optimism, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, well, there's good basis, so let's hope so.
Let's hope.
Thank you so much for the chat. It was great to speak, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Brendan. See you.